Welcome to my whiteboarding series. This is the overview episode where we will talk about technical interview prep using the whiteboard, and I will go over tips and tricks. I want to preface this by saying that this is really what I've learned as a bootcamp grad and junior front-end developer. So I have personally never interviewed anyone, but this is what I've learned and I want to share my knowledge. So whiteboarding tests are a combination, of course, of your technical skills as well as your soft skills. This is really a communication between you and the interviewer. You want to ask questions, check in, and we'll go over this all further. So first, what kind of questions can you expect in a whiteboarding interview? You can expect algorithms, a coding challenge, which I think falls under algorithms. Typically a coding challenge will come into your inbox and that will be step one. And then from there, if you do well, if you pass, you like your code, then you'll move on to a whiteboarding question. Next, you can have like a logic reasoning puzzle. You could have system architecture question, as well as code analysis. I think code analysis also falls under a different category because that would be your interviewer looking at your GitHub and pulling up possibly a repository and asking you, hey, can you walk through the code that you created here? I want to address that I'm making this video during quarantine, so I'm not sure what a whiteboarding challenge looks like during this time. So if you have any experience with that, please drop your experience and what that is like in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So what is the interviewer looking for out of this whiteboarding? They want to know, can you speak clearly in front of others? Again, soft skills. Have you prepped? This could signal your work ethic. Do you think through problems logically? Can you tell a good solution from a bad one? Do you know this is the brute force way? Do you know the big O? Possibly this is not the best solution because it has a big space or time complexity. And one other point I want to make is, do you have a grasp on computer science fundamentals? So a memorization device I learned at my bootcamp was the term reacto. R standing for restate. When you get the question, restate it to the interviewer. Make sure you understand it clearly. Ask any questions that you want. Ask, is this the base case? What are the edge cases? Try to really parse apart the question till you fully understand it. This also gives you time to really think it through. You're restating the question and you're thinking in your head, okay, the wheels are churning. It buys you some time. Next, think about examples. Maybe they haven't given you an example. Walk through what you think an example would look like and check in with them. Ask them, does this look correct? They are there to work with you. Sometimes you might have an interviewer that seems a little gruff or just maybe they're not as helpful, but really try to work with them and try to find that ground that is helpful and that shows that you're trying and that you're a team player. Next, you're going to go through your approach. This is pseudocode. So you're not coding, you're just talking through maybe all the approaches you're thinking about, starting with the brute force approach. This is my first initial thought. This is not the best solution, but I want to talk it out with you first. This also, again, you'll have more time to think through in your head, okay, maybe I'm using nested for loops, which isn't optimal because of probably the big O. And then maybe you can move on to this is a hash map solution, or this is a set, and this is optimizing it further. And then you're going to check in with them. Hey, this is what I'm thinking. Can I start coding? If they say yes, jump in, dive right in. After you've coded it up, possibly your solutions, depending on how much time you have, if you have an hour, if you have 2 hours, then you can go through more solutions. You're going to test your code. You're going to debug it. You're going to walk through it with your example and really try to see, okay, what is going on at each step? Again, explain, talk it out. Don't just go up to the board, especially when you're coding and just, okay, in your own world. Really try to communicate. Really want to stress that. And then optimize your code. Talk about why it's working, why it isn't, and this is a great time to also ask for help. What do you, the interviewer, think of the solution? Again, this is just a reiteration slide. Restate, ask questions, edge cases, test cases, these are all good terms to use. Pseudocode, write code, again, use your test cases and debug. And if you are stuck, ask for help. Next, I already addressed these first 2 points, but how would you break the code? What is the time-space complexity, the big O? And then you can also ask, again, this is a dialogue, how would the interviewer improve the code? So I've talked a lot about tips and tricks. I want to now discuss my experience. So I would say the oddest whiteboarding interview I had was I handed in my resume to the interviewer, and then he told me he wanted to ask some questions. He turned over my resume and was like, okay, just write out what you're thinking here, pseudocode on the back of your resume, which is very odd. It was also a half an hour interview, so I was not quite expecting this round to be whiteboarding, but you never know what's going to happen. So always prep and just prepare for the unexpected. I've also heard, and maybe this is also more relevant during quarantine, that some people have been told to whiteboard not in the code editor, but in a document like Google Docs, just to see, hey, when you're not in your proper environment, and maybe to push you to really pseudocode, how do you do? How is that going to look? I personally have never had a long whiteboarding interview. I've been asked a lot of technical questions, and I think a lot of my interviews really emphasize soft skills. In fact, I came out of one interview where I was actually offered a marketing position after the interview was over because they told me, hey, you were very sociable, you connected with all of us, and we think this might be the position for you. I, of course, was very set and still am on pursuing a development career. I want to be a web dev, and I feel super grateful to have landed a job as a junior front-end developer. So feel free to drop any questions you have of my journey from studying and attending a boot camp to graduating and landing first a contract job for 2 months and then landing my first junior front-end dev position. I would love to answer your questions. And finally, I have a whiteboarding series coming soon, and I'm really looking forward to going on this journey with you.